This big-headed doll had a toothache. So, it came to me for treatment. Since the pain was in the molars, I had to crawl into its mouth to diagnose. The mouth was pitch black. It then pulled out its eyeball to use as a light for me. Only then could I see the situation inside. This guy truly eats anything. It was like a garbage dump in there. Everything you can imagine. I endured the stench and searched for the molars. At this moment, a golden light in the dark caught my attention. It was a golden spear. A system notification sounded. Holy spear. Legendary quality. A spear that fell into the dark world from an unknown realm. It carries a holy blessing. Extremely effective against evil spirits. Without a doubt, this spear was the reason for the big-headed doll's toothache. Near the spear, there were fragments of other doctors' limbs. It seemed this big-headed doll had consulted others before me. But those doctors were all monsters, so none of them could touch the holy spear. Which is why they couldn't cure the doll's toothache. And they ended up being eaten. But I'm human. I'm not afraid of holy power. However, the spear was lodged too deeply. I couldn't pull it out. Seeing this, the doll commanded its tentacles to help. But they were all over the place and ineffective. Stop moving around. Follow my instructions. 1, 2, 3, pull. 1, 2, 3, pull. With our combined effort, the holy spear was finally pulled out. But the doll was still crying in pain. Turns out, pulling out the spear caused a severe wound to bleed. I quickly ran to the pharmacy to get painkillers. But the wound was so deep. How could I get the medicine in? At that moment, a cute and clumsy tentacle stretched out. Light bulb went off in my head. I grabbed a knife and chopped off part of the tentacle. The big-headed doll cried out in pain after being chopped. I injected the medicine into the tentacle, then stuffed the tentacle into the wound. But the wound was too narrow. It got stuck halfway in. So, I racked my brain for another idea. A pile of bones nearby caught my attention. I decided to use them as a hammer and nail, and forcefully hammer the tentacle into the wound. The sharp pain made the doll scream repeatedly. But this was just the beginning. The real challenge was yet to come. Finally, the medicine-filled tentacle was hammered into the wound. The big-headed doll quickly felt relief from the pain. It was so happy that it kept tickling me with its tentacles, making me itch all over. Next, some finishing touches were needed to ensure the health of its teeth, because the holy light of the spear had corroded the tooth. Once the medicine wore off, the wound would still hurt. So, the tooth had to be removed. I prepared the tools, and started replacing the big-headed doll's tooth. The doll and its tentacles acted as my assistants. They held the light, fetched buckets, and brought water. After our teamwork, the tooth was finally replaced. Finally, some steel reinforcement was needed. But the pharmacy didn't have enough materials. It would take until tomorrow for a delivery. The big-headed doll, upon hearing about the steel, shouted, "I know where to get some," and immediately put me in its mouth and ran off. But I can't leave the pharmacy, dear. Soon, we arrived in front of 3 iron gates. Looking closely, I realized they were made of iron, not steel. At this point, the big-headed doll opened its giant mouth and spat out a burst of flames, melting the gates into molten iron. Then, a giant Iron Man appeared from within. A system notification sounded. Rigid automaton, level unknown. Combat abilities extremely powerful. Seeing that these two were about to fight, I quickly jumped out of the doll's mouth. The next second, the rigid automaton raised its iron fist and attacked. Despite its large head and short legs, the big-headed doll could jump surprisingly high. With a dive and a heavy smash, it struck the rigid automaton. The battle ended just like that. It was an instant kill. The terrifying combat power of the big-headed doll sent chills down my spine. It then asked me, "Is this enough? If not, I'll bring more." The other automatons trembled in fear upon hearing this. I quickly responded, "It's enough, it's enough. This will be more than sufficient." I took out my tools and cut the rigid automaton into shape. Before long, a shiny new tooth was perfectly crafted. Achievement unlocked. Root level monster dentist. At this moment, I realized that the big-headed doll was actually a root level monster. No wonder its combat power was so terrifying. Its trust in me increased significantly. As an excellent pharmacy salesperson, I seized the opportunity to recommend our new dental care service. The goal was to have it visit regularly and become a loyal customer. Seeing its hesitation, I quickly added that the service includes a free cleaning. Without waiting for a response, I dived into its mouth for a thorough cleaning. I have to say, this creature really eats anything. Its mouth contained all sorts of things. After clearing out the debris, I began brushing its teeth. I used the pharmacy's signature product, Dark World toothpaste. The tentacles wanted to help, too. With everyone working together, the teeth were soon sparkling clean. looking at its gleaming new teeth. The big-headed doll couldn't stop smiling. Are you satisfied with the service? I asked. Yes, yes, yes. Would you like to become a lifetime member of the pharmacy? You can enjoy free dental cleanings in the future. Yes, yes, yes. Great. I'll register you as a member now. May I know your name? The big-headed doll looked puzzled. What is a name? It's how other creatures address you. I don't have an address. I don't have a name. Then let me give you a name. Your head is so big. I'll call you Xiao Xiao, Tiny. Xiao Xiao heard this, and seemed very pleased with the name. It kept waving its tentacles excitedly. With its shiny new teeth, Xiao Xiao happily headed back home. As its figure disappeared from sight, I hurriedly slammed the door shut, then nailed the door closed as fast as I could. After doing all this, I was left gasping for air. Finally, I made it through. Thankfully, I had nerves of steel. Otherwise, showing fear in front of a monster would have meant not surviving the night. I suddenly thought of the demon hunter uncle. He still hadn't shown up again. While organizing my skills, I discovered an ability called curse removal. With it, I could remove the curse from this gun, even though it only lasted 24 hours. It was better than nothing. That way, I'd have 3 legendary weapons for self-defense. I immediately snatched the gun from the little girl's hands, then shouted, "Curse removal." At that moment, a system notification sounded. 1 use complete. Current curse removal cooldown, 2 hours. I couldn't wait to test it out. Without the curse, it should be a one-shot kill, right? I fired several shots, but none of them hit. I immediately questioned the system. Is this ability you gave me fake? I already removed the curse. Why am I still missing? Unexpectedly, the system replied, your firearm proficiency is 0. Turns out, it was my own lack of skill. In that case, I'd need to train hard to improve my firearm abilities. I placed a bottle on the windowsill. With every gunshot, my firearm skill value kept increasing. But I hadn't hit the bottle at all. At that moment, a wail came from outside the window. Who's sneak attacking me? A system notification sounded. You hit a level 75 monster. Night Devourer. Terrified, I quickly sealed the window tightly. A level 75 monster was out of my league. But the voice outside kept shouting incessantly. Afraid to admit it, huh? I hit the vital spot, didn't I? A sharpshooter indeed. I was so scared I dashed under the covers, not daring to breathe. Soon, morning came. The system notification woke me from my sleep. Opening my eyes, I saw countless tentacles under the covers. Terrified, I pulled out my gun and fired. I finally realized it was the evil spirit Loli. Luckily, my aim was off, so I didn't hit her. A system notification sounded again. Evil spirit Bloodhawk failed to parasitize you. Fear level toward you increased by 20. What? It was trying to parasitize me? No wonder I felt something trying to enter my body in my half-asleep state last night. I didn't expect all those tentacles to grow back overnight. There was no choice but to perform another massive makeover. As the surgery progressed, the Bloodhawk's fear of me kept increasing. Let's see if you dare to extend those disgusting tentacles to me at night again. After my meticulous transformation, the Bloodhawk turned back into a beautiful Loli. I even used the excess tentacles to craft her a pair of beast ears. Then I sternly said to her, stay in this form from now on. No changes allowed. Using physical methods, I reconditioned the Bloodhawk's personality. Soon, her previously resentful demeanor turned into a cheerful and sunny disposition. The system then updated her traits. Traits: sweet and obedient, gentle and cute. However, the transformation wasn't complete. Each trait there were still some discordant descriptions. After much effort, I only managed to modify half of it. The system's current permissions only allowed me to adjust 2 traits for now. So, the other 2 traits would have to wait for future updates. By then, she could become a perfect little girl. Next, I prepared to open the pharmacy. I started by cleaning the shop thoroughly, then practiced my shooting skills for a while. Finally, I lit the soul lamp to signify we were open. During the wait for customers, I discovered that the system had unlocked a store feature. In my imagination, the store should offer things like sweet pets or exclusive hidden weapons. Excitedly, I opened the store. 3 rows of product listings appeared before me. Special edition. What on earth are these items? Product 5. Baby diapers. Seductive succubus perfume. Fortune cat that brings bad luck. This really is a hilariously bizarre system. I immediately requested a product refresh. This feature is currently unavailable. Please wait patiently. Products will refresh daily at 5 a.m. I had no choice but to make do and buy a few items. After all, I had earned so many skull coins. Might as well spend them. I first ordered a vial of slime venom. As a doctor, venom is definitely something I can use. The fortune cat that brings bad luck. I wouldn't use it myself, but I could gift it to someone I dislike. tight-fit baby diapers. I looked at the utterly confused little Loli. Although she now looks like a young girl, she was literally born just yesterday. Using diapers for her seems perfectly reasonable, right? Flesh proliferation potion formula. Finally, something genuinely useful. To my surprise, the order even came with a piece of blood demon meat. This reminded me of the critical hit potion the system gifted yesterday. If I gather all the ingredients, I might be able to craft both potions. Coincidentally, the scavenger is scheduled to deliver supplies today. I'll see if I can complete the ingredient list. Yesterday, I collected a lot of good stuff from Xiao Xiao's mouth. Perfect for trading. Speak of the devil, and here he is. The scavenger arrived as promised. Hey, kid, got anything good to trade today? I quickly brought out the items I'd collected earlier. The scavenger wondered why I had so much stuff today. What were you up to last night? At that moment, the bag started rustling. The scavenger was shocked at the sight. This is the aura of a root-level monster. How does a mere pharmacy apprentice like you have their stuff? I truthfully told him. I treated a big-headed doll's toothache yesterday. I collected this stuff from its mouth. You actually dared to treat a root-level monster? Aren't you afraid it might eat you? The scavenger always thought I was just an ordinary human. He didn't expect me to pull off something so reckless. Hearing this, I was speechless. I treated it precisely because I was afraid of being eaten, though that's what I thought. As a professional pharmacy doctor, I had to say something more graceful. Of course I wasn't afraid. Serving every customer is the philosophy of our bloody pharmacy. No matter who they are, we treat everyone equally. The scavenger looked at me, unimpressed. Kid, stop bragging. Yesterday, 3 root-level abyssal hunters showed up in this area. The one you met was probably the smallest of them. Last night, the nearby slaughterhouses, Evil Spirit Street, and Yang Soul Alley were all devoured by them. The big-headed doll you encountered was likely planning to eat the people in Wandering Soul Lane. Maybe your treatment saved the people here from disaster. Hearing this, I broke out in a cold sweat. But I still felt that the big-headed doll from last night was kind of cute. The scavenger was speechless upon hearing this. What kind of weird taste is that? How can you find an abyssal hunter cute? If even they're cute, then do you think I'm a fairy descended to Earth? At that moment, I felt the conversation heading in an indescribable direction. The scavenger didn't want to continue arguing with my absurdity. He said, the stuff you gave me this time is too valuable. I don't have anything of equal value to trade with you now. This is something I just obtained. It might be useful to you. He handed me 3 blood red hearts. When I saw them, I almost wet myself. These cursed hearts need a large amount of fresh blood daily for oxygen. They can link to the heart of a designated target. When you hear your own heartbeat, be cautious. That will no longer be your own heart. This is a cursed heart. If you want to kill someone, just think of them in your mind. Then torture the heart in any way. You'll derive endless joy from it. This scavenger leader truly deals into Adley artifacts. The function of these hearts is practically a bug. The scavenger pushed his fully loaded cart, happily leaving, since he visits every morning. From now on, I'll just treat him as an NPC for trading special items. At this moment, the supplier's carriage arrived. As usual, we exchanged goods and payment. With that, my warehouse was restocked. I moved the goods into the shop, preparing to open. But as soon as I put them down, a loud knocking came from the door. I opened the door with a welcoming smile. Welcome, but in the next second, I was stunned. The soul lamp was surrounded by 3 waves of ominous aura. Standing outside was a curvaceous woman in red. The blood-clad wraith. Level, unknown. It will slowly drain you completely. A twisted amalgamation wandering the dark world. Do not be lured by their enchanting figure, or what awaits you will be a nightmare. I suppressed my inner fear, and said calmly, hello, guest. Do you feel unwell anywhere, and need treatment? The woman smiled wickedly, and leaned her delicate face closer to mine. I'm not unwell at all. Just moved to this street this morning. I'm visiting the neighbors. You wouldn't be unwelcoming, would you? As she spoke, she licked her fiery red lips, displaying her seductive charm to the fullest. Seeing this scene, I maintained my professional smile, but my left hand had already gripped my revolver. Welcome. I had no choice but to invite her in. With creatures of her unknown level, the soul lamp couldn't stop her from entering. Even if she harbored ill intent, she couldn't be stopped. It was better to invite her in kindly, and observe her intentions. At this moment, a system notification sounded. You have triggered the mission. Survive before the blood-clad wraith's malice reaches 100%. Keep your fear level above 0. At the same time, ensure their malice toward you doesn't hit 100%. Survive for 30 minutes. Another survival mission. Could this seemingly gentle woman in front of me really be as dangerous as a root-level monster? As I suppressed my inner fear, the blood-clad wraith softly said, Little shopkeeper, Judging by your look, you're not from around here, are you? At this moment, her eyes glowed faintly green. Her hand curled in a heart-snatching gesture. Aren't you afraid of being eaten by some scary customers? As soon as she said that, my fear level instantly dropped by 10 points. After a moment of thought, I replied, of course I'm afraid. But as a doctor, saving lives is my duty. As long as they're my customers, I will treat them seriously. Hearing this, the woman suddenly stood up, walking seductively toward me. What if they aren't your customers? What would you do? The next second, she leaned her fiery red lips close to my ear and whispered, what if I'm here to eat you? What would you do then? As soon as those words left her mouth, my crisis level instantly shot up to 61%. I couldn't tell if she meant it literally, or had another meaning behind it. Suppressing my fear, I calmly replied, that's impossible. Such a beautiful woman like you. You must have a kind heart. Even if you were dining, you'd surely do it with the grace and elegance of nobility. The woman smiled sweetly, you're quite the talker. At this moment, the crisis level dropped to 56%. Just when I thought I had successfully flattered her, she struck again. Do you really think I'm beautiful? Without hesitation, I replied, of course you are. Because when a woman asks that, any hesitation could lead to unimaginable consequences. Is that so? Then how about this? In the next second, the woman's delicate face transformed into that of a slit-mouthed woman. Her mouth spewed out countless disgusting tentacles. She asked again, do you still think I'm beautiful now? I was so stunned by the sudden change that I froze on the spot. My mental stats plummeted by 30 points. Seeing this, the woman kept advancing toward me. Say something. Do you still think I'm beautiful now? At this point, the crisis level kept rising, shooting straight up to 90%. I stared at her sharp white fangs, and the slime-dripping tentacles. My mind was spinning frantically. Just as the crisis level hit 99%, my expression shifted, and I suddenly blushed. The next moment, I leaned in and kissed her. The woman was stunned by the sudden move, and the atmosphere became awkward for a moment. What are you doing? At that moment, the crisis level dropped to 50%. I'm sorry, you leaned in so suddenly, sister. And I couldn't resist kissing you, because you perfectly hit my aesthetic standards. Looking at the shocked woman, I continued to explain, since I was young, I've liked girls with sharp teeth and little tentacles, especially someone like you, slimy and unique. You're basically my ideal type. The woman thought to herself, no wonder when I had my perfect makeup on, he didn't react much, but when I revealed my fangs and tentacles, he got excited. This human is truly bizarre. At that moment, I seemed to notice something. My expression suddenly froze. The woman noticed and asked with a relieved smile, what's wrong? Don't you like slimy girls with sharp teeth? Why that face now? Are you scared after all? As she finished speaking, the crisis level rose again to 70%. I suddenly leaned closer to the woman, touching her sharp teeth with my hand. Sister, as a qualified doctor, I can't allow any flaws in your oral cavity. Would you like to try our shop's oral care service? There's a special discount if you sign up for membership now. With skilled acting, I turned the situation around, even managing to get her to try our oral care service. As the woman was lost in admiration for her own beauty, I suddenly placed a hand on her shoulder. I wanted to ask if she was satisfied with my service, because some previous customers had left negative reviews in the system. This made me feel very wronged. I clearly worked so diligently, always keeping a professional smile, so now I cherish every customer's feedback. However, the woman seemed shocked by my overly familiar gesture. She thought to herself, this human is really strange. The story is developing completely differently than I imagined. Normally, he should be screaming in terror and running away in panic. But instead of being scared, he's actually excited to give me oral care. Unaware of her thoughts, I kept smiling, hoping for a positive review. However, my smile looked irritatingly smug to her. She said, stop with the sweet talk. I'm here for serious business today. Did you perform surgery on 3 pighead demons yesterday? Hearing this, I froze in place. Yes, I did. Why? Did you take a baby out of one of their stomachs? Yes, I did. May I ask who you are? I'm its mother. At that moment, the woman revealed her true form again, glaring at me fiercely. I quickly told her to calm down. A beautiful lady like you, how could you fall for a pighead demon? Besides, shouldn't your child have been born by you? Stop playing dumb with me. He should have told you. He ate a little ghost before, and that ghost was part of me. If that's the case, then I can accept this storyline. I asked her, what are you planning to do here? Of course, I'm here to take him back. But I thought her words lacked evidence. At the very least, we should bring Mr. Pighead Demon here to verify her claims. The woman's face suddenly twisted into a strange smile. All right, I'll let you meet him face to face. The next second, she opened her mouth and began to vomit. With a plop, she spat out a bloody, skeletal remains. Judging by the shape, it was a pig's skull. The powerful pig head demon had already been eaten by this woman. At this moment, my nerves screamed in alarm. The woman demanded I hand over her child immediately, or else she would swallow me like the pig head demon. Alright, but please prepare yourself mentally, because your child might not be exactly as you remember. At that moment, an ominous wind blew through the curtain. The woman immediately sensed her child's aura. She couldn't wait to see what her child looked like now. An indescribable twisted form, or a seething mass of forbidden malice? She was full of anticipation. But I thought to myself, this is bad. In her mind, images of her daughter's current form flashed. A sharp-toothed fish? Spider with countless legs? She abruptly pulled back the curtain. What appeared before her was an adorable little girl. The girl, shy under the woman's gaze, asked, who is she? She's your and the pig-head demon's child. Isn't she adorable? The woman's mind was in utter chaos. Impossible, absolutely impossible. This thing could never be my daughter. At this moment, the girl seemed to feel her mother's bond, and opened her arms toward the woman. Seeing this, I broke out in a cold sweat. The woman, after a moment of silence, suddenly tore off one of her tentacles. She intended to perform her own version of a paternity test. She threw the tentacle at the girl's feet. The girl looked puzzled. The next second, the tentacle began climbing up her leg. In no time, it merged into the girl's body. The woman was stunned. Her worldview began to collapse. This really is my daughter? Who turned her into this? I'll tear them to pieces. While the woman struggled to process this reality, a system notification sounded. Bloodwraith infant, juvenile stage, level, unknown. Alignment, chaotic good. Originally born from malice and resentment. The Wraith infant's growth direction was altered due to external interference. The display also showed the infant's taming and fear levels. In that case, she should listen to me quite well. Feeling curious, I decided to test it. Attention. Turn left. To my surprise, she obeyed perfectly. This must be the peak of taming. A sense of accomplishment from nurturing her welled up within me. But just as I was feeling triumphant, I suddenly remembered the Bloodwraith mother was still here. I had to figure out a way to please her, or my life would be in danger. Madam, this is indeed a healthy and adorable daughter. If you'd like to confirm that this is your child, you can take her home anytime you'd like. To help her accept her child, I encourage the Bloodwraith infant to call her mommy. Mommy. I eagerly awaited the woman's reaction. The woman was momentarily at a loss. The next second, the Bloodwraith infant leaned in and kissed her. As the daughter of a demon, such a warm gesture was a complete disgrace. The woman was utterly enraged. Impossible, she could never be my daughter. I am a conglomerate of malevolence, born from countless hatred and malice. Grotesque, twisted evil spirit. My daughter should be even more twisted and broken than I am. But in her eyes, there's something terrifying purity. How horrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. The next moment, the frantic woman seemed to think of something. Wait, maybe she's just pretending. When I disguise myself as a beautiful woman, to lure in prey, yes, that must be it. Saying this, she reached out to embrace the Bloodwraith. To her surprise, the infant gave her a loving hug. The concept of love, a lethal weapon against demons. The woman shuddered in pain, as if struck by lightning. Seeing this, I was stunned. What's happening here? This scene is scarier than a battlefield. The woman curled up in a corner, looking dejected, and said weakly, normally, any shard of evil that falls from me should always manifest as a twisted existence. But how could it turn out like this? It must be your doing. The woman reverted to her true form, and lunged toward me.